يقول راجي عفو رب سامعي محمد بن الجزري الشافعي: الحمد لله وصلى الله على نبيه ومصطفاه محمد وآله وصحبه ومقرئ القرآن مع محبه. وبعد إن هذه مقدمة فيما على قارئه أن يعلمه، إذ واجب عليهم محتم قبل الشروع أولا أن يعلموا مخارج الحروف والصفات ليلفظوا بأفصح اللغات، محرر التجويد والمواقف وما الذي رسم في المصاحف.
الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا متقبلا يا أرحم الراحمين. To Allah teach us with benefit us, increase us in knowledge and good words and good deeds, Ya Rabbil Alameen. We continue by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessings in explaining Aljazariyya, منظومة المقدمة فيما يجب على قارئ القرآن أن يعلمه، من نظم إمام الحفاظ وحجة القراء محمد بن علي بن يوسف ibn Aljazariyya rahimahullah ta'ala. And we are still on line 31 in this section of التجويد or باب التجويد. What does he say rahimahullah? والأخذ بالتجويد حتم لازم من لم يصحح القرآن آثم، لأنه به الإله أنزل وهكذا منه إلينا وصل، وهو أيضا حلية التلاوة وزينة الأداء والقراءة، وهو إعطاء الحروف حقها من كل صفة ومستحقها، ورد كل واحد لأصله واللفظ في نظيره كمثله، مكملا من غير ما تكلف باللطف في النطق بلا تعسف، وليس بينه وبين تركه إلا رياضة امرئ بفكه. So we stopped on the second last line, or the third last line in this section, which is line 31. وَرَدُّ كُلِّ وَاحِدٍ لِأَصْلِهِ. And returning everyone to its origin means what? Returning every letter to its origin means pronouncing every letter from its right makhraj. وَاللَّفْظُ فِي نَظِيرِهِ كَمِثْلِهِ. And every utterance in its equivalent should be similar to it. Means what? We said this is one of the most important rules of tajweed that applies to all of tajweed rules. You have this letter here. This letter, for example, has hams, and it's, for example, rikhu. And you have to apply these qualities to this letter everywhere, every time. This mad is not tabi'i, 2 harakat, and you have to always make it 2 harakat. You're making mad arid al-sukun, for example, 4 harakat in your reading. When you start it, you continue 4 harakat. Likewise, you make the ba light all the time. You say bismi, you make it light. Also, when you say batil, you also make it light. When you say baruq, you keep it light. So this rule, as you can see, it's about the uniformity in the recitation, the consistency in the recitation. And we mentioned that, and I gave you an example of how some people, they break this rule just to amuse others and to apply the musical melodies. So let's go back a little bit. وَهُوَ إِعْطَاءُ الْحُرُوفِ حَقَّهَا. وَهُوَ means what? We said tajweed. إعطاء الحروف حقها. It is to give the letters their right. من كل صفة, in regard with every صفة, ومستحقها. The mustahaq of the صفة is what? What is the mustahaq of the صفة? We mentioned this last time. We said what results from applying the صفة, or what results from that صفة. For example, استعلاء is a صفة, right? What is the mustahaq of استعلاء? Tafkhim. In istila, the sound goes up to the roof of the mouth. What is the result of that? That the letter should be heavy. And I asked you a question. I told you I'm going to ask you this in the test, inshallah. What's the result of إطباق? وحرف الاستعلاء فخم. He said, rahimahullah, وحرف الاستعلاء فخم. Make the استعلاء letter what? مفخم. وخصوصا لطباق أقوى نحو قال والعصا. Make the istila letter heavy but specify the إطباق استعلاء letters, the إطباق مستعلي letters. صاد, and ضاد, and طاء, and ضاد. These are استعلاء letters. And also their إطباق. In استعلاء we make them heavy. Okay, we're going to make them heavy. But in إطباق, what we're going to do? إطباق will make them heavier. Right? This is why he said, rahimahullah, in the coming section that will come inshallah later, وحرف الاستعلاء فخم وخصوصا لإطباق أقوى. So we say مستحق الإطباق is زيادة التفخيم. The result of إطباق is what? Extra تفخيم. Write it down. That's the question I'm going to ask you for sure. Inshallah. Who can tell me now what's the مستحق of رخاوة? What's the مستحق of رخاوة? رخاوة is the flowing of the sound of the letter, right? What's the مستحق of رخاوة, ya sister? We said that it's the time of the رخو letter should be longer than the time of the بيني letter. So as you can see, every صفة has مستحق. Some صفات don't have مستحق. Okay? Now, one last thing in regard with this sentence, من كل صفة ومستحقها. This word ومستحقها could also be understood. ومستحقها means the مستحق of the letters themselves. Okay, the مستحق of the letters themselves. But most likely, it means the مستحق of the صفات themselves. So we said, tajweed is to give the letters their right in regard with the makharij and the صفات and the resulting, or the things that result from applying those صفات, and the rules that result from the meeting of the letters with one another. And I told you I'm going to also ask you about this definition because you have to include this last sentence. We explained that. Okay, and alhamdulillah, Mullah Ali Qari, he mentioned this particular thing that I mentioned in the definition, that you should include this in the definition. It's not enough to say giving every letter its right from the makhraj and the sifa. That's not enough. Because idgham and ikhfa, for example, these are not sifat. These are rules. Okay? Mad, etc. So we have to add this sentence to the definition of tajweed. We say, and the rules, and to apply the rules that result from the meeting or the connection of the letters with one another. Like ikhfa and idgham and mad, etc. So we said this rule, وَاللَّفْظُ فِي نَظِيرِهِ كَمِثْلِهِ, is not only about mad or ghunna, it's about every letter, about every rule, about harakat. Sometimes some of you are reading fast, you skip some harakat, you shorten some harakat, you prolong some harakat. All that is a breach to this rule that is not good. This thing is not good. So you have to maintain the rules, the times of the harakat, the times of the letters, and apply all the rules consistently. Okay. Now I told you we're going to talk about reading the Quran with the musical melodies. And this is extremely important topic that we have to know really well, and we have to have the proofs, and we have to raise the awareness of people, so that if we see a qari coming and changing our Quran to entertain people, we will stand up and say no. And we will not make, as you will see the people in the video who will say, ah, mashallah, mashallah. And the qari is distorting the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his melodies, and the people who are listening, mashallah, yeah, and they're about to jump, mashallah. So we have to raise the awareness about this, and we can never allow this to happen without pointing out that this is not acceptable and this is not right. Let's have some quick introduction. We said before that the recitation of the Quran is an act of worship, right? An act of worship, ibadah. And ibadat in general is tawqifiyya. What does that mean? Ibadah should be performed as our beloved sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed it, right? You cannot now come and pray in a different way than the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You cannot change the number of rak'at that the Prophet ﷺ taught us, for example, right? And we mentioned many hadith and many narrations from our salaf, from the righteous predecessors, from the greatest qurra who passed this Quran to us. that قراءة القرآن سنة يأخذها الآخر عن الأول. The recitation of the Quran is a sunnah, there is a way, and the latter, right, the latter takes it from the
Former.
The former. Barakallah fiik. The latter takes it from the former. And القراءة سنة فقرأوا كما قرأ أولكم, as one of the tabi'in or the Sahaba said. And we have many hadith about this. We mentioned them before. We're not going to go again in detail because we explained this before. And we mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ didn't allow the Sahaba, just everyone, to read by himself in the way that he likes. And we mentioned the hadith when Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, the authentic hadith, that someone read إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينِ. He stopped him. He told him no. He said, I didn't read, it's not read this way. He told him إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينِ. And he stretched it. Even though this doesn't change the meaning in any way. This doesn't change the meaning in any way. Still, he told him no. Not like now these sheikhs who come and say, oh, you don't have to apply these rules. You don't have to apply these rules. SubhanAllah. In some issues they're too strict, and in some issues they're careless. So, and we said the Prophet ﷺ in one of the hadith, he said, read as you were taught. You remember this hadith, اقرأوا كما علمتم. So we have to stick to the way we got from our sheikhs, from our teachers, and teach it to others the same way. Now, how did we get that qira'ah? Of course, we got it from the Prophet ﷺ through those chains of qurra, of reciters, who in their ijazat, in their certificates, they literally mentioned that this person read to me the same way I read to my sheikh, who read to his sheikh, who read to his sheikh, etc. This is about the trust, and this is why some of you, now they're doing their second and third khatma, and still they're not up to that level where they can start reading the final khatma. And some of you, they already started. So some of you, they need one khatma, some of you need two khatma. It depends on your readiness, because this is an amana. It's not like something, Allah, I don't want him to be sad, like he spent 3 khatmat, or if you spend 20 khatmat, that doesn't matter for me, right? You have to reach the level where I can tell you, now you're certified, and I can certify you, because you're reading the same way I read to my sheikh, who read to his sheikh, who read to his sheikh, etc. Back to our beloved sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So this is a big amana, but unfortunately when people have no amana, they're not trustworthy, they just certify you, maybe you read just some ayat and you don't know the rules and you don't know, etc., etc. So that cannot be right. So we also said learning tajweed is a communal obligation, but acting upon tajweed is an individual obligation. And we explained the details, what exactly the rules of tajweed that are mandatory on every Muslim to apply. We explained the details about this, and we said the rules that do not change the meanings, or you have to apply the rules that help you to avoid changing the meaning, whether changing a letter, okay, or changing a haraka. So this applies to makharij al-huruf and the sifat that change the letter. Not all sifat al-huruf change the letter into another letter. Some sifat change the letter into another letter. So we explain in details these rules. And Imam Ibn Aljazariyya rahimahullah said in the Nashr, Qira'at al-Ashr, he said, there's no doubt that this ummah, as they are required to understand the meanings of the Quran and abide by its rules, they are also required to worship Allah by correcting their pronunciation of the letters of the Quran على الصفة المتلقاة من أئمة القراءة, on the same way that has been transferred to us from the imams of qira'ah, not from the maqamat teachers, not from the musical maqamat teachers, not from the teachers of the musical melodies, as you can see now, not from the people who come on TV a lot, not from people who sit and entertain people, no, from the imams of qira'at, al-muttasila, those imams who are connected with al-hadra al-nabawiyya, with hadra, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. التي لا تجوز مخالفتها ولا العدول عنها إلى غيرها. And it's not permissible to leave this way that we got from the Prophet ﷺ through those imams and turn to another way. Now, before we also move on to explain the rulings and what the great scholars mention about this topic, first of all, how did the Prophet ﷺ recite the Quran? We explained also this before in many hadith, many talks. كانت قراءته مفسرة حرفا حرفا. His recitation was very clear, letter by letter, tartil. That is what tartil is. And his recitation also was very beautiful, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he urged us to beautify our voices when we recite the Quran. So we should make this clear. We're not telling people, no, just, you don't have to make it beautiful, it's not sunnah, no. We have to establish the foundations and the introduction so that people know that we don't want like the Quran to be read just like any other book. No. The Quran has its rules, which are the tajweed rules, and it's unique to the Quran. And I told you before that it's not nice to apply the tajweed rules to hadith, for example, or to in your khutbah. It doesn't sound nice. Okay, because these mudud and these ghunan, but I'm talking about mudud and ghunan, not all tajweed, okay? Not to speak correctly, no, I'm talking about the extra mudud and the extra ghunan. This is special to the recitation of the Quran. Please don't apply it to anything else, nor hadith, nothing else. This is for the Quran, so that it doesn't get mixed with anything else, right? And this is from the sunnah, by the way, of the Prophet ﷺ. In the beginning, he told them, don't write anything other than the Quran from me. وَمَنْ كَتَبَ عَنِّي شَيْئًا غَيْرَ الْقُرْآنِ فَلْيَمْحُهُ. Anyone who wrote anything from me other than the Quran, erase it. Then when Sahaba, they got used to the way of the Quran, they resumed and they started writing the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So, the Prophet ﷺ urged us in many hadith to beautify our voices when we recite the Quran. That's agreed upon, that's sunnah, that's very recommended. Some of the hadith from Bukhari, for example, ما أذن الله لشيء ما أذن لنبي حسن الصوت يتغنى بالقرآن يجهر به. What does that mean? It means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not more pleased than anything than a prophet who has been given a nice voice reciting the Quran. Some people mistranslate this hadith. They say that Allah doesn't listen. Let me read for you this translation that I found someone, just to also make you aware that you should not just get any translation. This person is saying Allah doesn't listen so attentively to anything as He listens to the recitation of the Quran by a prophet who recites well. He said Allah doesn't listen so attentively to anything as He listens to the recitation. Astaghfirullah. Who are you talking about, ya akhi? Allah listens attentively and not attentively. What are you talking about, a human? You're talking about a person? This is about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't say He listens attentively or not attentively. So this is when people just translate literally or they don't have the basic aqidah foundations, they make these mistakes. The hadith means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Imam Qurtubi for example says, he says this means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honors the qari and rewards him because this is the result of hearing him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not more pleased than to hear anything than a prophet who is reciting the Quran and beautifying his voice with it. And this, of course, we can understand from this that it's also any person who recites the Quran in a beautiful, beautiful voice. Another famous hadith, for example, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ لَمْ يَتَغَنَّ بِالْقُرْآنِ. The one who does not beautify his or her voice with the Quran does not belong to us. Means we are people who care about our book and care to make it beautiful. And there's another meaning of this hadith which means that every one of us tries to beautify his voice of the Quran. That's how the Muslims are. Alhamdulillah, you really see even young and old children, all of them, they try to beautify their voices when they recite the Quran. Many hadith, one of the hadith also, that Sayyidina al-Bara radiallahu anhu, he said, I heard the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in Isha reading وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونِ. In Isha. You don't have to read 2 pages in Isha, Shaykh, or 1 page. Okay? وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونِ. Right? إِذَا زُلْزِلَتْ. Okay? And he urged us sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to make it short. Right? So he said what? فَمَا سَمِعْتُ أَحَدًا أَحْسَنَ صَوْتًا أَوْ قِرَاءَةً مِنْهُ. I never heard anyone who had a more beautiful voice or recitation than him. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So this is understood. He had the most beautiful voice, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he urged us to beautify our voices when we recite the Quran. And we know the hadith about Sayyidina Abu Musa radiallahu anhu, etc. When he heard him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he came the next day and he told him, if you see how I was listening to you yesterday, you've been given like one of you of the life. You've been given a beautiful voice, just like David, alayhi salam, Sayyidina Dawood, alayhi salam. He said, Sayyidina Abu Musa radiallahu anhu, he said, if I knew you were listening, I would have tried even to make it more beautiful. I would have tried even to make it more beautiful. Radiallahu anhu wa arda. So these are clear hadith, okay, that yes, we need to try to beautify our voices with the Quran. زينوا القرآن بأصواتكم فإن الصوت الحسن يزيد القرآن حسنا. Beautify the Quran with your voices, because the nice voice, the beautiful voice, increase the beauty of the Quran. Okay, there are more hadith. That's enough for now to establish this introduction that absolutely we are commanded and urged to beautify our voices when we recite the Holy Quran. Now, some people, they took these hadith and they went too far with it. And they're exceeding the rules of tajweed to beautify their recitation. That's their claim. But subhanAllah, wallahi, when you, of course I'm talking about people who have some knowledge about how the Quran should be recited, wallahi, they feel how awful and how bothering this type of recitation that they do is. And how, because they're changing the Quran from the way it should be recited and making it just like songs. And we mentioned before, and we will mention all the hadith inshallah, that shows you that this is one of the miracles of the Prophet ﷺ, who said that at the end of time, يَتَّخِذُونَ الْقُرْآنَ مَعَازِفٍ, that some people at the end of time, they will come and they use the Quran like instruments. And that's what you will see exactly. These musical melodies that these people apply, it's part of a music, and music has its own times and its own layers of sound, if you like, or pitches of sound, and it has timings, and it has its own rules. No doubt that these rules of music or these timings, okay, it is completely different from the timings and the rules of the recitation of the Quran. So how you want to come and apply those musical rules or put the musical scale, apply it to the recitation of the Quran? That's why it will not work. It won't work. The only way it will work, that you will break the tajweed rules, change them, modify them so that they fit in the scale of the musical melodies. And that's what these people do. Very few people, okay, they change those musical melodies so that they don't change the tajweed rules. And they do it, but they're very rare people. Rarely they will do that. Those are the ones who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those are the ones who have knowledge and they know the correct recitation of the Quran. And this is why I'll give you the summary that we will read the words of the scholars, but I'll give you the summary before we listen to some of these people. So the scholars agreed upon in the past, the majority of the scholars, they say, if you apply any of these musical melodies to the recitation, there are two cases, or two options, or two possibilities. Changing the rules of tajweed for the sake of the maqamat, for the sake of those melodies, and that is haram by consensus. By consensus of the scholars, that is haram, that is not permissible. To change the rules of tajweed, the rules of the recitation, to fit the melodies, to fit the musical melodies. That is the first possibility. And that is by consensus. We will read the scholars. We will read for you all, from all schools, from all times, from the past until our time. You will read. The second possibility is that this qari, he applies those melodies, but without exceeding the rules. Right? And that is rare. Still, the scholars of the past, most of them, they said that is makruh. Why makruh? They said because that's not the way how the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba recited. Okay? But there are few scholars like Imam Ibn Hajar radiallahu anhu, Imam Shafi'i radiallahu anhu, and that's the opinion I follow, is that as long as you don't exceed the rules and you don't change the rules of the recitation, it's okay to apply any melody you want. Okay? Sheikh Ayman doesn't take this opinion. He just takes that it is makruh because why? Because they don't work. Because music has its scale, its rules, and tajweed has its rules. You cannot fit them together. But I say, if you don't exceed the tajweed rules, apply any melody. Is that clear? So this way should be agreed by everyone. There are other reasons that Sheikh Ayman mentions and the scholars mention, that the concern of the qari will be only to apply the melody, and that is right. And really, most people won't be able to avoid this issue. And if you try, you will know. And this will make people also get diverted from reflection on the meaning, which is the main purpose of revealing the Holy Quran. You see? And some scholars, they say because these melodies are not from the Muslims, but for me that's not a reason. Okay? So this is very briefly, so that's the opinion I follow. Imam Shafi'i opinion, Imam Ibn Hajar's opinion, some other great scholars I'm going to mention for you in details and their statements, inshallah. As long as you don't exceed the rules, okay, you're fine. So now let's come to some details, some more details about applying the melodies. In the same mad letter, you cannot go up and down in the same mad letter. You cannot change the tabaqa, the musical layer of the sound, if you like. You don't change the pitch of the sound in the same mad letter, because that will cut the mad letter. And we will see how Imam Aljazariyya mentioned this literally. He said, tajweed is not taqti' al-mad, is not to cut the mad into many mudud. When you say ya, that's how the mad is. You either say ya or ya, that is what mad is, just to stretch it. But when you say ya, what? Many are, you're adding many alifs, okay, and adding hamzat. So adding letters and cutting and changing the letters, you're basically distorting the letters. That is not permissible. The Imams clearly mention this. In the ghunna, same thing. They call it tatneen al-ghunnat. Shaking the ghunna, if you like. Same thing. Imam al-Jazari mentioned. It's not Tajweed is not taqti' al-mad, taqneen al-ghunna, etc., etc. We will mention all of his words, inshallah. Now, if you move from one musical layer or one sound level to a higher level or a lower level in two different letters, that's fine. Do you understand? For example, say, Ya, listen, huh? Ya ayyuhal, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu. If you go change the level of the sound or the pitch of the sound in two different letters, that's fine. But in the same letter, that will generate many letters, and that will bring us disasters in the recitation, as we will see. Let's see, and let's hear some of these recitations that some of these people do. And I want you now to catch the mistakes. I want you to catch the mistakes and tell me the issues. Don't move the camera. I don't want people to see the faces of these people, but except when I tell you. There are some things I want them to see, because the main purpose is to raise the awareness of people and to see how they change so many things in the recitation for the sake of the melodies. And we will mention there are about 12 types of mistakes that these people do when they apply the musical melodies and exceed the tajweed rules. 12 types of mistakes that Sheikh Ayman mentioned, and that I'm going to show you now some of them. And we'll finish with this. We're not going to take the whole video. We'll finish with this. We'll take some of it and we'll continue next time, inshallah, with the details. So focus well. I want you to catch the mistakes. This is how the Quran became. Some of you might feel, I don't see anything. But for me and for the people who know the tajweed rules, this is so offensive. It makes us burn from inside. Let's see, let's take this short, these 36 seconds, let's see the rules that he skipped and the rules that he changed. So, الذي, what is that mad? وهو الذي, what is that mad? طبيعي, right? Two حركة. Focus with me now. Let's see another طبيعي. فيها, nice, right? الذي, two حركات. فيها, two حركات. Nice. Now we started, huh? Now he's because now he has a melody he wants to follow. Okay, that's the first change in the rule. Okay. Look, the أنهارا روى أنهارا. This is طبيعي and this is طبيعي. Why are you making this longer? Because this is how the melody is. Okay. Who can tell me here? What is he doing here? What is he doing in the إخفاء? ومن كل. Is this how the إخفاء? Is this how the إخفاء? Is this how the إخفاء? Of course not. But why he doesn't say ومن? Because it's difficult. Because they need breath to do it. So they don't touch. As we mentioned, this is fa and qaf and kaf. This is which method of ikhfa? You touch, then you press. Ank. You have to close the makhraj. Ank. But he said, look from the sound. If you just hear the sound, you can see how he's generating this oral sound. That's not right. What is this sound? What is it? What is this letter? It has to say because this gives them more time, because they need this time so that they persist. Okay. You just said anhara. Now thamara. Again, you see, we're still in the 22nd and the 22nd second, and you see, skipping, changing the mad. Sometimes he makes the mad tabi'i 3, sometimes 2. Okay, changing the ikhfa. Okay. What is this mad? What is this mad? Mad arab is sukoon, right? Okay, he wants to make it 6. Okay, make it 6 harakat. This is Quran. This is not Quran. Huh? This is song. This is singing. What? That is haram.
That's مدلين.
Huh?
هذا مدلين.
But this is how مد. لا هذا مد اللين. عفوا جزاك الله خير. I meant مد اللين. This is not مد عارض. It's called مد اللين. 6 حركات. Okay, but this is how you do it. What is the last letter he's saying?
The noon is
Did you notice how he's doing the wow? Look. Is this the wow? But why? Because this is easier for him. This is to give him breath. يتفكرون. This is the wow. That's the wow. It didn't work. So he's gonna repeat it. It was not nice. He's gonna repeat it. Okay, let's see. It didn't finish well. What did he do? Did you see the second that he took during his way? Huh? They take a breath with these things. They take a breath. I cannot see it. You cannot see it, but this is how they do. Why you make this pause during your recitation? How many harakat is that? And how many ups and downs is going? Okay. What is mutajawirat? What is that mad? What is mutajawir? What is that mad, ya sister? Mutajawirat. What is that mad? Arid al-sukun. How many harakat? 2, 4 or 6, right? Okay. What about jannat? Same thing, right? Okay. Let's see. See how he's stretching mutajawirat and see how stretching jannat. وجنات. So So here 7 harakat, here 3 harakat, here, yeah, take from here, shorten this, strengthen this. This is how they play with the rules of the Quran just to entertain people. That's Quran, see? How many harakat here he's making? It doesn't care. It doesn't matter for him. What's in his mind? Wallahi, we know this because I was in a nasheed group and I do nasheed and I know these things. Okay? Some people come and say, oh, because you guys, you don't know how to do it, so that's why you're criticizing these people. SubhanAllah. That's just nonsense. We know nasheed and we know how to do nasheed, and in nasheed we have in our mind, you have to finish the sentence in a certain way. Otherwise it will sound like awkward, right? So that's what he's in his mind here. He doesn't know about doesn't care about the rules, shortening, strengthening, no. Elongation, it doesn't matter for him. What matters, he wants to fit the melody that's in his mind. Look. That's why we're doing this, because we don't want people to do like this. MashaAllah, look how many harakat he made nasta'een and how many times he went up and down, and these brothers, mashallah, they don't know, they're enjoying, mashallah. This is Quran. Nasta'een. This is Quran. What happened? لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. نستعين 8 harakat. What happened with المستقيم? It's the same rule, Sheikh. The same rule. What happened? You don't have enough breath? See? مستقيم. This is mad arid and this is mad arid. Why? نستعين 8 harakat. Then مستقيم. Why?
غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
You see, do you notice that? Yani, just put a singer and see, they're doing the same. Just if you take these parts and just hear it without looking at this, without looking that he's putting, mashallah, Kufi and see, isn't that just what singers do? Isn't that just singing part of a song? Isn't that a part of a song? So many rules are being just violated just to fit the melody, and it's not only him. The disaster that you'll see million views for these videos, million views, 2 million views, mashallah, and people, Allah, that is one of the miracles of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That this is how some people at the end of time will use the Quran like this, and it's happening, and we will never be silent to it, and we will see how how some other people do, how they're doing the mistakes. We don't care about the names of these people. We're going to focus on the mistakes and what are those mistakes and how they're exceeding them. And we're going to, inshallah, next time listen to the to the words of the scholars from the times of Sahaba radiallahu anhum until our time. We will see what they said about these things, so that inshallah we are equipped with the necessary knowledge to advise these people, and advise those who encourage them, and advise those who host them, and advise those who sit and listen to them. Because everyone who is contributing to these gatherings, he will get the same sin. He will get the same sin. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help Muslims be aware of this distortion of Allah's book, and to help us to raise the awareness about this issue, and to bless us to recite the Holy Quran as it was revealed to our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and as it was transferred to us by our great sheikhs, without distorting, without changing its rules, and at the same time with beautiful voices. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.